Good morning, good morning, good morning, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, the disclaimers, of course. Now, I know you all heard me go off yesterday. Not sorry, not even a little bit, because all I see these days is ableism increasing, in particular towards the autism community, which, let's face it, I did kind of predict it. It's April. But the newest one out here by state is, in particular, they put a bill through the Senate that essentially doesn't just, basically it's banning all autistics from being able to transition. No, I don't mean just wait until you're 18. I mean banning us from being able to transition, period. Now, as an individual who's not trans in any way, shape, or form, you would think that this shouldn't matter to me. But it does, folks. Because somehow they've got it in our heads that us autistic kids just can't be rational. And we can't be expected to make adult decisions. Yeah. As a girl pushing 40, who has been through sheer hell, I've been making my own decisions, successfully so, for quite some time. This is a part of this idea that anybody with a developmental disability is forever a child. And it's this idea that our brains never mature to the state of that of an adult. And therefore, we cannot be trusted when it comes to making decisions for ourselves. Stop. Okay? Stop. The actual fact is, just because my brain develops differently from yours doesn't mean that it doesn't develop at all. I am not perennially in a child state. I have the mind of an adult and the same capacity as a neurotypical of my same age bracket to make rational decisions when it comes to myself. I mean, this is the GOP hell I'm talking about. They think we are fully capable of working an 80-hour work week, but God forbid we make decisions about our mental health or our health care, period. But you can't be expected to make rational decisions. I don't know about you, Karen, but I have studied the DSM definition of my own diagnosis. In nowhere, no shape, no form does it say that it is impossible for an autistic brain to develop and mature. The only thing that it does say is that my brain develops differently than yours. That's it. That's all it says. I'm not perennially 5. Oh, hold on. Sorry about that. It's this infantilization of people with developmental disabilities. It's this idea that we never mature past childhood. Which is a joke, considering how many of these people tote Temple Grandin. What is Temple Grandin, folks? An adult. With an adult brain. You can agree or disagree with her, but nobody can deny that her mind is that of a full-grown, neurodiverse adult, not a child. We are hyper-rational creatures, to the point it actually unnerves the neurotypicals around us. I know this because me and my family folks, we're hyper-rational. We are hyper-logical, hyper-analytical beings. Our decisions are not based off of emotions or random gut things, nor are we easily led astray, as the Republican side of the media would have you believe that we are. But you're uniquely vulnerable to be swayed. Okay, dude, go talk with my mother real quick. Ask her how easy it is to sway me on, well, anything. Literally anything. You can't. You can't, folks. Where we are coming from, what our beliefs are solid and cemented. It comes from self-analyzation, hyper-logical, hyper-rational thinking. We don't make completely, utterly life-changing decisions because, but all these people are cool and I just want to do it to be accepted. Literally not how any of this works. Because here's the facts, folks. All of us learn very, very young, that no matter what we do, we are never, ever, ever going to fit in. By the time we hit teenage years, this has already been cemented. In fact, you're more than likely to find an autistic not following trends than you are going to find the one that's trying to. Why? Because we know it's futile. Okay? By that age, we are done trying to do things in order to get liked. Trust me on this one, all right? Just take my word for that, because, yeah, by the time I hit that age, I was done with the planet. All right? You got to stop thinking of us as children, because we're not. We are fully fledged, realized adults by the time you hit my age. By the time we're teenagers, the very solid foundations of who we are going to be as we go into adulthood is, you can't move us, people. You can't convince us one way or another of shit. Sorry to curse there. I'm trying to watch it, but you can't. You literally can't. You'd have more give and take by arguing with this wall over here. To sit there and try to say that we can't make rational, comprehensive decisions when it comes to our own mental health and our own physical health, and whether we feel like we are in the wrong bodies or not, it's insane, folks. If you actually know anything about autism, it's nuts. Because if anybody has done more self-analyzation than your local psychiatrist and psychologist, it's your local autistic. Okay? We're not doing rash decisions because we just want to fit in. We know we're never going to fit in. Whether one of us is trans or not, by the time they get to the age where they start questioning things, we have already got figured out that nothing we can do is ever, ever going to get us to fit in. We got the memo. All right? Got the memo like circa middle school. Because it's not just affecting in this bill, folks. This belief that those with developmental disabilities are forever children and are forever stunted has been used as a bludgeon every single time we have ever stood up for our rights or gone against anything. You want to know how we got the power that we got now? Numbers, folks. Numbers. Eventually, my generation started talking to the next generation after that, the next generation after that. And at this point, there's simply too many of us in the neurodiversity movement for you all to continue to ignore and brush aside. So no matter how many times you're going to sit there and tell us that we are incapable of rational thought, everything that we do basically shows you otherwise. So stop it. Okay? Because this doesn't just affect the trans community. It affects us across the board. This is the sort of thing that is used against us so that the state can take complete autonomy away from us, okay? This is the sort of thing that, well into adulthood, well into my 20s, I would take my mother with me into my therapy sessions. And you know why I had to do that, folks? Because that therapist at that time period still held on to the belief that I did not have the capacity to understand the things that actually happened, to me. Finally, that stopped happening when Mom and I did research and got someone with a functioning brain. Quit infantilizing us. If you ever met me, the last thing you would think of me is that I had a child's mind. If you ever sat down and talked with these individuals, you will realize they are the exact opposite of having a child's mind. Stop it. Alright, to the disclaimers. In the description box, folks, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they didn't remove it from the website. Well, folks, NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill. Please read that article and share it on all your social media. We also have linked in there NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding, folks, in case the JRC actually has the balls to see through with their threat. Also linked in there is the Ozark's first article in regards to the Agape boarding school, now known as Stone for Help situation. This is a so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has and pending, folks, over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it, all which have been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor still on the premises with full access to the kids, upon multiple claims of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault, all which have been substantiated by hard evidence, again by the Missouri Department of Social Services. You have an attorney general too busy chasing after drag queens and defunding libraries to do his actual job. And you got a governor office. Hold on. Allergies, folks. So send help and share that on all your social media. You're also going to find linked in there all the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Masemba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002, the templates and the ever-present, self-explanatory change.org shut the Judge Rotenberg Center down petition. When we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, folks, please go ahead and use your headphones, all right? Right, this channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger, they are watching this. Very obviously, parental supervision is advised, alright? Alright, now, trigger warning. We are once again about to descend into the mad ravings of the lunatic mind known as Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to be hearing, well, God. Sorry, brain stop, brain fart, folks. Gaslighting, victim blaming, pseudoscience, and lie after lie after lie. All coming from a man with a massive ego and even larger God complex. So, folks, you know the drill. Prepare yourself for the egotistical stupid we are about to descend into. Now, we're going into the second paragraph where, after, just to kind of recap, Dr. Matthew Israel tries to sit there and say, but the study the MDRI references is from another institute who took in some of our boys and they had to come back because they were out of control. Gee, I wonder why, doctor. Could it be because you tortured them? Think maybe they were resentful? Think you may even have made them more resentful because of what you did? Or even compound that by these people, though they're not doing your version of ABA, are still doing ABA, and that issues that are causing the behaviors still remain unaddressed, and yeah, obviously. So into the next paragraph. The paper itself acknowledges that aversives can be therapeutically effective and can have long-term benefits, stating the low-frequency, challenging behaviors displayed by the participants in their former setting suggest that a therapeutic effect had been produced by such treatment. Again, doctor, they may be a competitor of yours, but it doesn't make them an ally of ours. Let me repeat that for the morons in the back who don't seem to understand things. Just because they're against you doesn't mean that they're for us. Okay? Let me say, for the millionth time, I feel like I may go blue in the face here. There is no long-term benefits to punishment, doctor. You know that. If there was so-called actual therapeutic benefits, if it curbed the behavior and it's long-lasting and remains, why isn't it not being used on repeat violent offenders in prisons all across the world right now? Because it's a lie, doctor. If you know anything about psychology at all, fear is never a permanent solution, because one will only behave in the way that you want them to as long as that threat hangs over them. When that threat is removed, what happens? Yeah. Fear is never a long-term solution. In order for that behavior to continue to do what we want you to do so you'll be normal, you would have to have us on that device for the rest of our fucking lives. Which, isn't that what you really want, doctor? For us to live in fear, to never say no, to always do what we're told, to behave in a way that makes you neurotypicals feel comfortable. Yeah, it's what you do. It's what all ABA does. That's why you use terms like recovery. There is no recovery from autism, people. Literally no recovery. There's no getting better. You recover from a heart attack. You do not recover from a developmental disability because there is no need to do so. I'm not sick. Therefore, I don't need a cure. It's basic logic here. Let me say again, doctor. When we act, speak, look like you, and you puff your chest out because you feel successful, you've done nothing. Because it's an act. It's a mask. It's what we do so that people like you will leave us the hell alone. Okay? It's not the real person. It's also masking does not help with behaviors. You want to know why masking doesn't help with behaviors? Because it's not addressing anything. It's just plain make-believe. The issues are still there. Those of us with the ability to mask do it for long periods of time until we're out of public. And then you know what happens, doctor? Become ourselves. There's only one solution when it comes to dealing with what he talks about. But so many people in this day and age are so giddy, so willing, so waiting for the quick fix that nobody puts in the damn work anymore. Nobody wants to deal in reality anymore. I mean, we live in an age where people actually fundamentally believe that they are allowed to make up their own facts. But since I live and deal in reality, let me explain it to you. Just because I mask does not make the person who basically forced me to mask in the first place successful. It means I'm successful enough in playing make-believe that you actually believe you succeeded in something. It cannot and will never address behaviors. Because it doesn't deal with the root cause that caused the issue in the first place. Something that coincides with masking is what we do is we clamp down on ourselves. And we will hold back and hold back and hold back. And I do mean things such as meltdowns, the ability to stim, the ability to be our atypical selves without society being out literally for our blood. There's a cost. Because eventually we're going to have held down on so much that there's going to be something that's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And you don't want to be there when that happens, doctor. You really don't want to be there when that happens. It is not healthy to continue to shove down parents' throats these false make-believe ideas that by trying to force your kid to behave a certain way, they're going to become neurotypical one day. You do a massive disservice, not just to us, but to our parents by selling them a pipe dream that will never actually be reality. Okay? We need acceptance. And we need common sense treatments. Where instead of trying to force us round pegs into a square hole, you will actually help us delve into our triggers, to work on them through means of therapy, assistive devices, reasonable accommodations, teaching us coping mechanisms, so that when you help us find out what those triggers are and find ways of being able to work through those triggers, you know what happens? You bring it down to a base level, folks. That's what you do. Which means we will be able to function in society. We will still have our moments because, like I have said 1,000 times, we are never going to be normal, no matter how well no matter how good we are at pretending that we are. But we will be able to function. But anyways, I should go back to where we were. What was my point in all that rambling? Before we read that last sentence here. It's very simple. Fear doesn't work. Not for the long term. Everybody knows this. This is why torture is not used to extract information anymore, because everybody knows you only do what the torturer wants until the threat is removed. It's a survival mechanism, which means no work's actually done. The inherent root cause of the behavior is never dealt with. Therefore, there is no long-time treatment or therapeutic benefits to aversives. Doctor, you're lying to yourself. And so is the entirety of ABA. And you're lying to parents too. But let's read the rest of this statement here. It is possible, of course, prior invasive treatment, referring to JRC, contributed to the long-term outcomes presented in this report. Again, just because they are quoting that report, doctor, does not mean that they agree with every single thing that the May Institute put in that report. But, you must agree then if you're quoting them. No, doctor. What they're saying is they made some good points. That doesn't mean that overall everything they said in that statement was true. Because we live in a world with this medical model that continues to sell parents year after year a lie. Sorry, but that's what it is. Whether through aversives or removal of affection, or whether we have to cross our T's and dot our I's in a neurotypical way in order to be able to, eat dinner or go to the bathroom. Because yes, I've seen ABA employed that way. Is ever going to work. Because the root cause remains unaddressed. What happens when you don't solve a problem? And then just compound psychological trauma on top of it. We're going to close on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do get tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit that like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit those comments. I do appreciate your time, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.